Let's see. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you guys this morning. It is Monday, August 4th, and this is the 130th episode of Solid Ground Live. Hi, David. Hello, Morning Cigar. Hi, Jade Stone. Nice to see you guys in the chat. We don't have Deborah with us today. We missed Deborah for her great conversation and also for her introductions. So I don't know the blurb, but if you're new to Solid Ground, we are a online peer support organization. We have groups that meet, what is it now, 4 times a week, I believe. And they're great groups for people to connect and talk openly. We started this around the idea of authoritarian impacts from things like COVID and wokeness in workplaces and schools, people needing a place to kind of discuss what's going on in their lives. But really, we talk about all kinds of things. And this is a live stream that we do every Monday to sort of talk about what's going on in the world, what we're thinking about. And I'm Leslie Elliott Boyce. I'm joined today by Jennifer Friend, Jenny Holland, and Christine Siefen-Wolk. And thanks so much, ladies, for being here today.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, the Bakes says Jennifer is looking radiant today. That's nice. Yes. Oh, thanks, David, for the nice hair compliment. And hello, Jesse. Nice to see you. All right. So, and hello, Olivia, too. Oh, Cowlick Combs. Hey, nice to see you there. John Noonan. Hi. We have a couple of things we could talk about today. Jenny and I have been having this dialogue for a while about something called PDA, or pathological demand avoidance, that seems to be creeping into the lexicon for parents. We might need to just set that aside as something that we can tackle together and go into some videos. That's a really interesting topic. It's kind of this self-diagnosis thing. There's not even a diagnosis. It's really quite controversial. But I don't know if we want to dive into that or save that. I'd love to hear what people think. If you're familiar with that, let us know what your impressions are, and then maybe Jenny and I can save that for a longer discussion. We also have Sydney Sweeney's jeans. That's on the tip of everybody's tongue. And Jenny's watching the Bonnie Blue documentary. I didn't even know there was such a thing. And so what do you ladies think? What would you like to chew on first?
Well, I would like to just echo what you said, Leslie. If anyone is noticing the PDA, pathological demand avoidance term creeping into discussion with parents or family members that you might know, or kids that you might know, I'd be very interested to hear about it because, like Leslie said, it's sort of a new-ish term that I think sounds like a lot like newfangled nonsense parenting. But then again, I am quite judgmental, so I'm willing to dialogue about it at some point. So let us know. Maybe we can do it next week.
Yeah, it's kind of I'll just give my quick summary. It seems like it's basically the oppositional defiance disorder criteria, but there's this group of parent coaches or people in parenting online spheres who have determined that this is actually not a psychological issue in the same way that a lot of other behavioral things may be, but it's actually a nervous system disability. And yet there's no tests being done in order to determine this. And these kids are just being considered disabled. And basically the breakdown is parents have to accommodate, they can choose between accommodating and activating their children. And so they go into accommodation and place no demands on children, which means things like unlimited screen time, abusive behavior towards parents and siblings, that there's just no, there's no behavioral sort of remedy to these things, and parents have to just take off the reins. So, Clue Studio, my jeans are blue. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, and Olivia says, Pathological demand avoidance is sometimes a symptom of autism. So yeah, that's the story there. Yeah, for sure. Are we dropping public display of affection?
Yeah, I know. I was wondering the same thing. That's what PDA used to signify, remember?
Right.
And I like that
Yeah.
one better.
Those are happier times.
Those
And
were
then
happier times.
Olivia says Sweeney is fake to distract from Epstein. Yeah, quite possibly. There's a lot going on, and the Epstein thing. I'm not sure what more we could say about that. There's a lot being said out there. I think it's crazy. I think a lot of people are pretty disappointed with Trump. I'm not personally disappointed because I didn't expect any better, but I'm a Trump skeptic, not a fan or a hater. So I guess that's where we are.
Yeah. So Jade is saying it's a FU to truly disabled people, the PDA thing. I happen to concur with that wholeheartedly. So definitely tune in next week when we talk about it more fully, maybe, or whenever we do that.
Yeah, I think
Not to
we
run
should
the show.
Yeah, we'll do it next week. You guys feel free to comment in the comments in this video. Let us know some of your thoughts so we have some of your thoughts to go from. We'll do it from Zoom next week so that we can share some videos and give you guys a little context. But Sweeney, what do you guys think? It's like suddenly there's a white girl on a ad and it mentions her jeans, and it is a jeans ad. Was it about race or was it about being good looking, saying she's got good jeans? What do you guys think?
It was about tits. That's what it's about.
It's a good old-fashioned American ad. It's cheesy and tacky, and I think it's about sex appeal and being good looking. I don't see it as being a racial commentary or anything of the sort.
Mm-hmm. There's a really popular criticism making the rounds of it's a girl, a woman. So I think she's maybe standing in the mirror putting on her makeup or something and talking about how it's really hard in America as a brown girl to feel beautiful. And this ad just kind of heaps on the already existing abuse that brown girls get because they can't feel pretty. They have to be white in order to be pretty. And I thought that was really, it's like, I grew up in the 80s and 90s when the supermodels were a thing. And I think girls have a hard time comparing themselves to famous and beautiful people with or without race being a factor. And so this young woman looking in her mirror, she's pretty, but she's probably having some feelings of jealousy seeing an even more beautiful woman get a lot of attention. I don't know. That seemed like the breakdown, and then she wanted to make it about race. Not that it's just her making it about race; it's everybody making it about race. But
yeah, the only I wrote about this for Spiked last week, and the only thing that this is proving once and for all, well, one is that sex does in fact sell, like we always knew, because apparently the jeans have been selling like hotcakes, and two, that what used to be the left used to be a real political stance. Okay, the left used to be a real political movement, and now it is 100% run by bitchy girls who are fat, who are unattractive, who feel scorned, who feel less than, and they're male like hand fellows who continue to indulge their delusions. It is 100% resentment driven, and it's very female coded, as they say nowadays. And like these videos, one after the other. Actually, the girl who was saying that about the skin color was by far the most attractive of the ones that I watched, the videos. Really, all of the other videos were girls who were like unfortunate looking. Like, and I say that without malice. I mean, I have eyeballs, so I'm just noting what I saw. And the rest of them were like, you know, either too heavy or like multiple chins or like whatever, you know. And it's like, let's not all pretend that beauty privilege is not real, because it is real. Okay. Sometimes I've been on the higher end of the beauty privilege hierarchy, and sometimes I've been on the lower end of the beauty privilege hierarchy. I've never been at the very top or the very bottom, but I have an idea what it's like on both sides of that coin. Okay. It's hard. That's part of growing up, is learning how to deal with that and not putting all of your entire self-worth, never mind your political ideology, into this like little cesspool of like self-regard. But that's what youth culture is, that's what internet culture is. So we have these pathetic specimens running around trying to invent a grievance because Sydney Sweeney's ad made a play on the word jeans.
Yeah, yeah. It is That's true. I mean, beauty privilege, or this is one of the most fundamental, I guess, forms of inequity, right? Life isn't fair, as my mom used to like
Yeah,
to
it
say.
is.
But
It's actually one of
and
the real ones.
it's a very real one. Being good
Yeah.
looking, just like for men being tall, it's unfortunate that this is the case. It's really too bad that some people are born better looking, and some people are born, as you say, unfortunate looking, and that's it's it's really something that people have to struggle with. It's especially in a culture that is sort of centralized, so that we uphold the same sorts of we you're not living in this little bubble where the prettiest girl at school is the prettiest girl you know. You get media showing you the prettiest people in the world in their droves, and we all we think that this is who we now have to compare ourselves, rather than the person in your town or your city or your school. You're comparing yourself to the best looking people in the world, especially as young girls growing up trying to figure out where your worth is and trying to be beautiful. And it can feel insurmountable, and I think it's really painful. I
Hmm.
think it's a painful thing. And I'm I'm struck by how much of social justice, like body positivity politics, is about overturning beauty or
Yeah.
neutralizing beauty because it's
Yeah.
unfair.
I don't think it's just because it's unfair. I think it's because we are very primally attracted to it, and not just in a sexual way. We're drawn to beauty like we're drawn to truth. I mean, these are basic principles that are reflected in religion and Christianity anyway. So, I mean, that's, of course, it has to be destroyed, because everything that is good and truthful has to be destroyed by the left. That's the entire point. They just pretend they stick all these social justice causes on, to masquerade the real drive, which is like a kind of a civilization death wish. um, but yeah, it is. I mean, that it doesn't have to be that deep. I mean, it can also just be a pure jealousy. But it is like, I want to give young people their due. Like, it was hard enough when I was 12, 13, 14. I wrote about this a few years ago. Like, when I was a teenager, you know, I found a picture of Drew Barrymore, who's the same age as me, when we were 15, and she's wearing this big chunky sweater, and she has completely normal hair and maybe a little bit of makeup, and she's just sort of standing there like this. And that was triggering. Like, you look at that picture when you're the same age as that girl, and you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, look at my ankles or my nose or my ears or something. Like, you then fixate. I mean, we all do that, and we've always done that. That's really normal. And to be constantly bombarded, not just with images, but images of girls who are really pretty, who are really thin, and who also do those little dances. Like, I don't know what those things are that they all do nowadays. Like, that's like that would derange you. That would derange you. But like, the adults then in your life, it's their job to guide you and to provide the structure that you don't completely obsess over it and destroy your brain.
Hmm. Yeah, I've thought it's interesting, like the 1980s and 90s, there was this wave of just celebration of beauty, whether it was real or not. You started to see a lot of plastic surgery trending. a lot of airbrushing and makeup tricks, and these just this unrealistic beauty standard. Probably this has been going on as long as there's been some kind of media, or as long as there have been humans, but it seemed to reach some sort of new height around that time. And then we have this period, which is kind of shortly following, where there's this massive beauty backlash. And they seem related. Like there's an excess over here, but then there's the pendulum swing, and we want to wipe it all out over here. And the answer doesn't seem to be to move back towards that excess. In fact, the excess never really left. We have Instagram now, where you have scads of really pretty girls doing everything that they can to present themselves to be even prettier than they actually are. And it's a thirst trap for everybody. It's like a self-hatred trap for young girls, and probably like a, I don't know, like a softcore porn trap for boys. But
I actually think sometimes I think if it makes boys, like if it turns them off, like visuals are really powerful. I think visuals hold like a magic power over us that we don't really fully like appreciate the depth of. Like I genuinely think they're like magic. They're like magic spells. I'm just gonna drop that there. I can't substantiate it in any way.
James from Bahia, how about unrealistic marriage standard? Will you say more about that? I'm curious what you mean.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. But the thing is, I think, having that bout of jealousy or self-doubt, and then trying to make it something that is sort of, almost political, like, oh, this is a racial thing. This is a rejection of people. This ad is a rejection of people who are not blonde, who are not white, who do not have blue eyes. I just think is a real reach. And it is true that there are plenty of ads now with representation of all different racial groups, as well as people now of different ages, which I see as a positive thing, and different weights and body types presented in a very positive, sometimes, I would say, over generous way. And so I don't think we've ever been more sort of democratic in our advertisements than we've ever been. And I just, I think, ads by definition are kind of cheesy and meant to appeal to sort of, they've got a few seconds to grab your attention. So, they go for what grabs a person's attention readily. And so, yeah, they're cheesy and sometimes kind of vulgar by definition, but I don't see it as, I just don't see that ad as an attack on, people of color, or saying that their genes are not also good, because we've all seen plenty of people who are stunningly gorgeous, who are not white. I mean, I think that the people that are objecting to it on that basis, I don't know, do they really believe that, or are they trying to hide behind that and say, oh, this is sort of this racial discrimination thing, which will get a lot more sympathy than just I'm a self-doubting, envious gal.
Right.
Well, and how many people here, how many of you had white skin? For me, when I was growing up, that was like a really negative thing. Oh God,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
so white, you're blinding me. Like everybody wanted to be tan. You wanted to be as least white
wow.
as possible.
Can I tell a quick story about that? So when I was in middle school, I lived in Italy, and I was racially harassed on a daily basis by all of the Italians for my pale skin. It was torture. 7th grade in particular. Every day I set foot in the classroom, every time anyone would speak to me for months on end, they would call me corpse, and they would call me ghost, and they never used my name. And I was also new to the school, and so it was like it was actual racism from other white people because they were like so horrified at my Nordic skin, and they were all tan Italians. So, hashtag me too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, I have brown skin, right? I guess I'm the only woman in the podcast today that has
Yes.
brown skin. So I guess I should weigh in on this a little bit. I have to
Please.
say, I mean, within my own family, most of my family members have lighter skin than I do. I am Middle Eastern, but I have half of my family's from Syria. They're very light skinned in Syria. Even some of them are blonde with light eyes. So even within my own family, there was oh my gosh, Christine, it's unfortunate that you're darker skinned than everybody else, but it's okay. You're still attractive. Don't let that bother you. That was kind of the messaging. I would go to school, and the girls that were the most highly desired were Latina and Filipino girls. So I had a lot of mixed messaging from a lot of different places because I didn't live in a very, I mean, it was my high school, I should say, was that way, not my elementary school and grammar school, but where it really counts, high school, where you really feel it the most, I would say. It was all about the Latina girls and the Filipino girls, and those girls had tan skin. They had, they weren't as white, obviously, but for some reason, I didn't happen to fall into that category. I was this other thing because I was Middle Eastern, and before it became this like fetish to find Middle Eastern women super hot, I was on the outcast side of that. And so I didn't, the way that I felt growing up is that I just couldn't win. I couldn't win in my family. I couldn't win at school, and I couldn't win in society at large. Right. So there's the big, blonde, really skinny girl. I also was raised in the 80s and 90s where the blonde, thin supermodels were what was it. So I didn't really find it being attractive in any context, to be honest. I mean, that took until I was clear into my college years, and I would say after college years, to find a point where I could find some attractiveness about myself. So I focused on my inner personness and my academia, and on finding other things to make me special or make me important. That was my way to cope. It wasn't to try to look like anybody else, because I didn't think that was even possible, but it was to actually realize life isn't fair. I'm not going to look like these people. What can I do different, or how can I stand out? I can study, I can read, I can learn about things, I can get straight A's. And that's what I did. And essentially, that's college was sort of an escape from all of that, because in college, I didn't feel so much like I couldn't find a place. But so I don't know. There's some things that are just not fair, and you're just going to be born with certain things you don't care for about yourself. It's just the way it is. I have a horrible issue with my neck, with my spine. I've had 4 surgeries on my spine already by the time I was 41 or 42. Do I wish I had a better spine and that I didn't have an accident when I was a kid that screwed up my neck? Yes, but that didn't happen. So I had to learn to live with it and do different things. And now, I'm getting into golf, and I'm back to swimming again, where you have to be able to turn your neck to breathe, and doing all the things I couldn't do for years. So it's life. And the snowflake attitude is what really gets on my nerves the most. It's buck up, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, gain a backbone, and figure out where you fit in, or how you want to fit in what world you want to live in, because that's the only way you're going to be able to survive all this. Because the pendulum swings constantly every decade in different directions for different reasons. That's what I have to say about that.
Well said.
Yeah, the whole thing makes me think
Thank
of
you.
Harrison Bergeron. Like the pretty girls should wear big prosthetic noses or weird chins or warts in order to equalize them. What we're I don't know if you guys know that story. It's a Kurt Vonnegut short story about
Yeah.
a dystopian future where everything must be equal. So, like people who, there's like people who hear well have these terrible tones going off in their ears in order to sort of deafen them to make them more like the people who can. And people who sing well have voice distorters in order to make their voices less beautiful. And pretty people are disfigured in order to equalize their beauty. So the whole thing sort of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Christine, I love when you said that it wasn't until college or later that you started to feel like you understood where your attractiveness was, because I feel the same way. I think high school, some people manage it in high school, but a lot of people don't. And then, there's nothing wrong with that, actually. Finding it slightly later, um,
Hmm.
you still find it. Like, and also confidence is supposed to come with a bit of experience and maturity. You're not supposed to have confidence when you're an idiot 15-year-old. I
Hmm.
mean, if you do have, I mean, good for you if you have confidence, but it can also lead you astray because it's not earned.
Yes.
It's not earned.
Yes.
Like when
Yes.
you're 24 or
100%.
25, which was my peak years, like I had a little bit more of an idea of how to handle myself, and I was like, it was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every moment of it. It was fantastic. But like that is exactly the norm. That is a normal thing to have happen to you, to feel bad about yourself for extended periods of time, and learn how to cope with that, and learn how to develop
Hmm.
strategies to make something of yourself in spite of it.
Hmm.
Well, and it
Yeah.
is sort of an advertising culture is a big part of where all of this comes from. You talk about the ad, right? Like, what does it say about our what we allow in advertising? How much does advertising drive culture? It's really about selling products, but it has a bigger impact on people than that. And the model craze itself was about what is a model but uh, a person that you hire to put the clothes on so people can see what the clothes might look like if they were to put them on themselves. That's what it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
But it
Hmm.
became this, there was this sort of concept creep where the models themselves became enviable for their what standardness, and then they got more and more
Hmm.
beautiful. They were supposed to be this norm, but then they became these exaggerated people who had qualities that you don't find in the average person in the population. Like they were super tall, extremely curvy while still being very skinny.
Hmm.
These sorts of traits that don't typify your normal person. And we let advertising create this whole meme that impacted all of the girls of an entire American generation or Western generation in a very particular way, and we're still running with it all to sell things. It feels very sociopathic in a way, and I think it's really distorted the thinking and the development of a couple of generations of people.
Yeah.
Well, and
Probably.
then we get
Probably so.
that. I think that's a great segue into like the Bonnie Blue thing, the prostitution, and where we've gotten with OnlyFans, and the if we can
Hmm.
commodify beauty, then what's next? We get this cultural approval of the commodification of every part of a person.
Well, I will say I think beauty has always been commodified. Always, always, always. I don't think that's new. Beauty has been revered, and it's driven people mad with jealousy. Always. It's like, I mean, it might even be biblical. I don't know the Bible well enough to say, but it certainly goes back that far. Um, it's different. It's folkloric. I mean, there's cultures where beautiful children are almost considered to be cursed, and they're given, like, a smudge will be put on them so that they don't attract the evil eye and the jealousy of other people. It deranges the people who look at the beautiful person. So it's complicated. um, but the Bonnie Blue thing, you guys, I've seen some things this afternoon. I have seen some things, and uh, it's bad. It's a
So, what
bad,
is
bad
this
thing. So in case,
documentary that you're talking about?
so it's Channel 4, which used to be this sort of like edgy, independent, kind of an indie vibe television network here in the United Kingdom, which of course is dominated by the state broadcaster, the BBC. Um, Followed Bonnie Blue around for a while. And Bonnie Blue, in case any of you don't already know, and if you don't know, you might want to turn away. Sorry, not to drive people away, but like it's so dark. If you don't if you haven't heard of her, you're lucky. She's an OnlyFans model porn star, I guess, who recently made headlines for a stunt in which she claims to have had sex with 1,000 men in 24 hours, which I don't personally believe, because I don't personally believe that would really be possible, but that's the claim. And much like Lily Phillips, who kind of came out of the gate first and did her 100-man stunt, that Bonnie Blue, who is an actual demon succubus, I think that's the official term, is obviously trying to destroy Lily Phillips as well. And so she's kind of like steamrolled over Lily Phillips's media, and now Bonnie Blue is taking up all the attention. And Channel 4 did this documentary about her, and I've watched about 20 minutes of it. And the only reason I watched it is because I'm writing about it for Spiked. And it's so effed up. It's so effed up. So back in June, Bonnie Blue did an interview with Andrew Tate, which was hilarious. I mean, it wasn't hilarious, but it was like, yes, it was like the horror monger and the horror, essentially, you know, getting along swimmingly. They're both absolute raging sociopaths, if not psychopaths. And she's become notorious because she says things, not just for the 1,000 guys stunt, but because she's constantly baiting men by saying she wants the barely legal men who are just turned 18. She wants to take their virginities. On the Andrew Tate interview, she said there was a host. It was some big YouTube channel I'd never heard of, where she's telling the host, "Why don't you send your son to me?" And the host is like, "I'm not doing that." Like, she's a predator. She's a grotesque sleazebag predator. And if she was a man, she would have been run out of town on a rail. Like, no one would tolerate that kind of talk from a man in this day and age. She's only 25. She looks about 37, not because her skin isn't perfect and glowy, but she has this dark kind of hardness about her, none of the flush of youth. So do you want me to tell you some of the things that I saw and heard in this documentary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of them is the documentary maker doesn't stay for the entire gangbang. She kind of comes and goes. And halfway through, there's more than halfway through, there's only 7 hours left. The room is strewn with condoms. And there's a lot of actual sex in it. Like, they kind of pixelate the parts, but you can see the acts that she's performing and, you know, her getting done, whatever. So you can see a lot. She lies on the ground naked, and they pixelate out her pubic area, and she does a star. What do you call it? Star, you know, like an angel in the snow kind of thing you do, you know, when you put out your hands, arms, and legs on the floor that's covered in used condoms.
Ooh.
And
really,
she's
really
like, "Oh my
nasty.
God, it's so nasty." I was like, I've always wanted to do this. And she constantly goes on about how she is empowered and she's the girl boss and she wants to do this. She gets off on this. This is her kink, which actually I entirely believe her. I take her at her word for that. The worst thing I have yet seen, I haven't finished it yet, but the worst thing was, you know, when you often, like, you come sometimes hear, especially online, people say, "Who hurt you?" And I think in a lot of cases with these like extra promiscuous women, a lot of times people assume that it was like a father wound, which it might be in this case. But what's very clear about Bonnie Blue is that she despises women. Despises women. She tells she doesn't tell a man. She's talking into, like, on her TikTok, maybe to the documentary maker. She says that she wants women to talk about her because that way their husbands will hear the women complain about her, and then the husbands will go into their bedrooms and look her up, and then the husbands will come to F her. And she actually kind of directs her thing to this imaginary husband and says, okay, I can't even believe I'm going to say this. This is so gross. She says, "Bring your wife's panties and I will wear them while you F me. And I will smell so much better than your wife." This woman hates women like no one I have ever seen before. And as I was watching this, I was thinking, this girl got like her heart broken by a girl. Like, someone stole her boyfriend or something when she was 14. and she's just in this absolute rage about it. And the biggest news of this documentary thus far, she has a husband.
Oh my God. Well,
She's
it
married.
sounds like classic intrasexual competition, only she's a sociopath who doesn't have any kind of social compassion or awareness. So she's,
No.
I mean, that's the intersexual competition. That's the pick me or the male feminist who says, yeah, men are terrible, honey. I'm one of the good ones. Or yeah, women are all stupid. They don't understand, but I understand. And so she's just taking it to the next level.
So she's trying to take sons from their mothers and husbands from the wives, and it's really disgusting. And she keeps saying like, "Oh, you can call me a whore. I'm a whore. I don't mind. I liked being called a whore." And I mean, she really does seem like she has oppositional defiance disorder. I mean, like not to pathologize that, like I don't like that term, but and you used to see young people who had like really messed up upbringings and they would be incredibly defiant and like stick their chin out and like, you can't hurt me, and like really shut down. That's what she seems like. But like to such an extreme, um, that she does actually come across as an actual succubus, like from the olden times, from old mythologies and stuff like that. She's like Sodom and Gomorrah level freak show.
Wow. What did you
And
think
she's
of
married.
her? What did you think of her forerunner, Lily Phillips, the gal who slept with 100 men? Did you watch that
Completely different.
documentary?
I watched that documentary. I thought she was a sweet wounded bird.
Mm.
I thought she was she was very emotional at the end of that when she did the 100 guys. And then she tried to come back and say, "Oh no, I wasn't upset. I was just like emotional." I'm like, "Okay." Um I think Lily Phillips presents as I mean, she's obviously very unwell. But she seems to be doing it. She seems to disassociate. Like, but Bonnie Blue is not disassociating. Bonnie Blue is grinding it out, like really going for the end, like in this very focused, maniacal way, which is to get revenge on what I'm not entirely sure in particular, but it's definitely on other girls.
Wow.
I think she should be. I think she should be booted off the internet. I think she should be like, okay, you're not. We're not going to. Any like. I don't think the Channel 4 documentary should have been made. I think it's a bit like suicides. It's like we don't put them in the paper to encourage other suicides. I think we're at that point. But the husband thing really threw me for a loop because I had never heard that
Oh
reported.
yeah.
She didn't mention that in the Andrew Tate interview when she was like a little demon. She was like licking her lips at Andrew Tate and being like, "We should have a baby. Can you imagine what our baby would be like?" She was obviously flattering him and trying to get like feed off of his status, which is disgusting anyway. But like that was obviously what she was doing, and he was kind of allowing it. But meanwhile, the entire time she has a husband, and they've been together since she was 14.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's
And
interesting.
he's in the
Wow.
documentary. He's in the documentary, and he's like, "I think she's great at it, and I think she's really pretty. And oh my god," it's like, what is going on here? Like, if I had to hazard a guess, I'm completely making this up. They've been together since they were 14. He cheated on her at some point, and she is such a sociopath that she has twisted the guilt and twisted the guilt and twisted the guilt, and she's never forgiven him. So she's literally going to bang every man she meets, and like get back at the girl and him who did that to her when she was young or something. I mean, I'm making that up.
Well, my first thought is pimp. When she's 14, how old is he? And is
He's
he
the same age.
same age?
I
Okay.
think they were classmates or something. I mean, she definitely gives off the pimp vibe. She's very cold and aggressive and calculating. Um, there's something really really disgusting and dark about her persona, where Lily Phillips seemed kind of like she doesn't know any better because she's young and dumb and disassociated, whereas Bonnie Blue knows exactly what she's doing.
Hmm. Marwar says Bonnie Blue may be extremely vulgar, but so isn't anyone who writes about her and even discusses her here. No one needs
Shame
to hear
on you.
this garbage. Shame on you, ladies. It's an interesting take. I don't know. These things are
Yeah.
happening in the culture. This is kind of like the things that
Yes,
bubble
right.
up that people are talking about prominently. They represent something for people. Like this is, for some reason, these topics become meaningful, and they're the things we're
Yeah.
going to discuss.
I
Well,
don't
it
actually
kind of shows
entirely
how
agree with that
extreme
comment.
things have gotten too. It kind of
Yeah.
shows how extreme things have gotten too. Remember, Jenny, you used the term sexual arms race. Well, if this isn't that, what is? I mean, it's just how can I get more and more attention
Yeah.
for, crazier and crazier, more kind of deranged, reckless behavior.
I liked this
And can I-
this thing from David Pellegrinelli. He says, "Is it a soul soother? Sorry, it wasn't meant to be a tongue twister, I'm sure. For a damaged woman to prove that many men desire them even superficially." I do think that is that kind of desire can be incredibly validating for somebody who doesn't feel seen, who doesn't feel important. So yeah, and it's kind of, I mean, it's not, you don't really have to be a damaged woman to find that kind of desire very affirming in a culture that says pretty much the greatest thing that you can be is beautiful. And that's what a lot of women grow up feeling. So yeah, I think that's astute.
I also it's important to note though, if maybe this is somewhat good in that she's the first like obvious and overt female predator that I've come across in the public eye. At least, female predator towards men and young men and boys in particular. And I think that it's really important that we understand that that is a thing.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
I think that I mean, I find it hard to believe that that was a thing before the internet. And I know people are going to jump down my throat and be like, of course it was. And maybe I'm being naive, but it's certainly a thing now. And young men are never, ever, or very rarely considered to be victims in this situation. But yeah, she's a predator.
Yeah. Let's see. David LeBoy says, banning things is simply impossible. Figure out how you're going to deal with that fact. I don't know if it is, because we ban lots of things. Like murder is banned. And there's no reason why we couldn't set other limits around certain things like sex and sexuality being shown. That's been done in the past. It could be done again. I don't know how exactly, but I'm sure it could. That's interesting too. The one of the things that comes up a lot, I see this comment quite a bit. I think we got one after the conversation we had last week, or maybe it was a few weeks ago, because we often touch on topics that are around this genre. You'll get a comment back saying, what are men supposed to do if they don't have physical touch? They need porn. They deserve it. They have a right to sexual gratification. You can't expect a man to not have that. And prostitution serves a need, because it is, it's not okay to spend a life without having that kind of access. And I would say, well, lots of people do. Lots and lots and lots of people do, and that's sad. And that kind of goes back to, some people are born with with a lot of pretty privilege, and some people are unfortunate. They just do not get that kind of, that roll of the dice in this life. And there's lots of things that are unfair, but it's not. Yeah, Morning Cigar says it's hell, Leslie. I think that it could be. It is really sad. And I'll say, like my mother, she lived years and years alone. She was desperately, desperately sad. She wanted a partner. She wanted a husband or a boyfriend, someone to love her. And she had tremendously poor luck. And she spent the last part of her life alone, and she died alone in her bed. You know, people suffer for lack of touch. It's terrible. It's not okay. But it doesn't mean that that there should be some right that manifests to purchase another person's body. That's not the answer to that.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that the one of the life's great challenges and one of life's great motivating factors is to learn how to approach the opposite sex, and it's intensely painful, especially for boys, to learn game. And I don't mean the kind of game like to, mistreat women. I mean, like, learn how to be competent at something, how to talk to girls, and how to win their affections. Like, that is the point. That's the game of life. Boys have to learn that. It's really hard. It's really scary. I mean, I remember how scary it was talking to boys when I was 13. It's horrible, but you have to learn it. That it's like an evolutionary process within your life. You're not good at it at 12. You're better at it at 16. By the time you're 25, you're probably pretty good at it, and maybe you're in a long-term relationship. That's the entire point. You don't get served it on a platter. And if you get served it on a platter, where is the incentive to become an adult and a functioning man and grow up and, go out and live and do something and create something, i.e. a family?
This is another thing I hear a lot lately. This is a new trope. I shouldn't call it that because that's so dismissive, but it's a new concept that I keep hearing. The core issue is that the average woman isn't interested in the average man. In the past, socially enforced monogamy got around this. In 2025, that's over. What do the bottom 50% of men do now? And I would say that this is a problem that echoes that problem of women comparing themselves to supermodels or really, Instagram influencers. This is manifesting differently for both sexes. Part of it is just a very online problem. I think that we sort of exaggerate the extent to which we see these trends happening when we spend too much time engaging with social media. But I think this goes both ways. Like the average woman, I mean, now we had this thing that went around last year. Do you guys remember when all the pretty girls were suddenly mids? Like to be a
Yeah.
pretty girl was to be mid, which is like meh, she's all right. And who was attractive at that point? It was like AI. I mean, AI gets to be attractive at that point. And anybody below that, so you got the mid, so anybody who doesn't qualify as a mid is just what, worthless? Like, well, I'd have sex with her, but that would be it. That's the end of it. And I think men are feeling a lot of that same thing when in the popular discourse right now.
Well, I like
Somebody
Tony
mentioned
Wall's
home
comment.
Sorry.
Yeah, the problem with men approaching women now is that we are told we're predators, but then when we don't approach women, it's our fault for not being enough of a man. I think that's very true. I think that kind of double standard does exist. And I think it makes it almost impossible for men to figure out how to talk to women. Because if I say this and compliment her, then am I objectifying her and I'm a pig and all of these things? Then I don't say anything. I don't approach. I just kind of sit in the background. I'm not enough of a man. I think that's something that men struggle with. And I really feel for that because I see how women, at least women that I've had around me in my life and in the world at large, say those very things about one extreme or the other. And so I think that's a really tough place to be in.
Here's this comment here. Brandon says more. A top 10% guy gets 20 to 30 app matches per day. A bottom 50% guy gets 0 per week. What are the metrics by which you're measuring these men? But also, this is interesting because this is an app problem, and this is a very online problem. And if you actually meet people in real life, this stuff is much less important. I think maybe that's part of the problem right there. Go ahead.
Brandon Bergian and James from Bahia are talking about Homath, which is a truly great YouTube channel with a lot of subscribers. Guys, I forget how many. Is it like 1 million or millions or hundreds of thousands anyway? And he does these great illustrations and sort of breaks down these problems. I agree with everything. I like his content a lot, but my only thought is, and you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong, I think this is a liberal city problem. I don't think this is a problem in like rural communities, and well, it's somewhat of a still a problem even in red states or traditional communities, but I think it's less of a problem in those places, whereas porn is a problem everywhere. I love Homath. I think Homath is great.
James from Bahia says that I'm wrong about that. I think, James, say more, if you will. I'm wrong about what? It being an online problem? I think that a part of the problem is that, these false images, we're all being shown false images. Women are being shown false images of women. Men are being shown false images of women. Women are shown false images of men. Men are shown false images of men. And what's the result? It's demoralization. It makes us all feel like I don't measure up, so I'll give up. It's exactly the same. It's just manifesting differently for men and women, as we are different. But I think it's demoralization on both sides. Yeah. David LeBoy, find me a woman who doesn't engage with social media and you might have a point. Maybe, but find a man who doesn't engage with porn. And that's a huge problem too. This is, I don't want to go make it a man versus woman thing. It's not. It's the modern age is corrupting people. It's hurting people, and it's making them feel like connection is hopeless. Clue Studio says porn is not a problem for people over 18. What do you mean by that?
That's not my experience. I've known quite a few people in their 20s and 30s struggling with porn and talking about the impact that it's had on their life for the ill. And, a lot of these people are really lovely, highly conscientious people in other domains of their life, and they do not want this causing them the problems that it's causing them, and they feel helpless to reduce their usage. The fact that you can just pull it up on your phone, you don't even have to be sitting somewhere at a stationary computer. It's the addictive qualities of it, I think, are so powerful.
Yeah, Morning Cigar says, thank you for the super chat. I'm stumbling all over my words today. Have you seen AI companions rising? This is the end. Well, in what way is it the end? Well, who will that take? Who does that take away from us when we have AI companions? Gamer guys who are lonely and don't feel like they have any hope, and this is just better porn for them? I don't know. I'm really asking, and I'm not trying to be derogatory. I do not like it, and Clue Studio says I agree with free porn being a problem. Well, the problem is it's not free. You may think you're getting it for free, but it's definitely being paid for. There was this really interesting, I don't remember if it was The Last Days of August or The Butterfly Effect. Those are both John Ronson. I guess they're like podcast series or audiobooks or something. And I don't remember which one of it was. He's like really non-judgmental, and he's spending a lot of time examining the impacts of the porn industry on the people who are participating in it. And they're very interesting studies to listen to. Again, he comes off very non-judgmental. You never know if he just feels like it's kind of sad that these things are so unfortunate for the people that are experiencing them, or if he's pro-porn or anti-porn. I don't know. But he's on a porn set and he's talking with one of the producers, and the guy is lamenting that the stuff that he's shooting today is just going to go up for free tomorrow anyway. And it just begs the question, who's funding this? Who's funding these shoots? Where are they getting the money from? It's coming from somewhere. Somebody's paying for your porn, and they have a reason for paying for it. And if you're not buying it and you're using it, then you're not the consumer, you're the consumed. You are the data. You are the thing that's being used if you're not paying for it, but you're using it. It's just like Facebook. You're not using it for free. You're selling your data to it. You're selling your influence. So
that's an interesting point. And the other types of porn, the paid porn, is a problem too, because I have known people who are addicted to that and have really severe financial consequences as a result.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Brandon
Wow.
Bergian, you pave with your brain and your soul. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm reading all the comments here.
Someone in the comments said, that he'd asked out a bunch of girls and been rejected on apps, and what am I supposed to do? I mean, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to keep going. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, none of this is supposed to be easy. None of it. The entire, and also, I mean, there's something to be said that women have always been of slightly higher value than men. That's why men are cannon fodder and women are not. Women don't produce as many offspring as men produce sperm. Women are more like valuable to the propagation of the species than men. And women's beauty has always been held in high regard. So there's always been a sense in culture anyway, whether that played out in reality, obviously it didn't in every single instance, and women have been abused and trafficked, etc. But there's in the culture, it's always been the trope that men pursue women and they suffer and they beg and they submit and they try and win women over. That is English literature in a nutshell. Okay, that's culture. That's what I was taught at school in every English class I ever took. That's what poetry is about. That's what music is about. That's what rock music is about. That's what pop music is about. So boys and men, they have it hard in that sense. Like we, in the old paradigm, which no longer exists, it was much more complicated. It was our job to be picky and choosy and to reject the vast majority of them, and they just had to keep going.
Yeah, I think, what is it? Andy Meon 766 says, Madam, I'm 50 years old. I can't keep going. The time to start a family has passed. But what does that mean
It's not
for
true.
you? I mean, I don't know.
If you're a man, I don't think that's necessarily true.
Well, and also starting a family isn't the only thing that makes life worth living. There's a lot more. I think, nope. We have such an obsession with perfection, right? If you can't have exactly what you want, then burn it down. I mean, go ahead and contribute to the ills, you know? What's that about? Like, I can't get what I want, so screw it. I will go ahead and do as much immoral stuff as I want just to make myself happy. It's like a pacifier at that point. Like, I didn't get what I wanted, so I deserve to just look at lots of naked women who are destroying their lives and destroying the lives of other people through what they're doing, and contribute to the degradation of everything that comes after.
Right. And it's not like it's an actual replacement for a relationship. It's not. It's a foul simulacra. It's never going to make you happy. It's never going to save you from being lonely. Life is tough. Life is tough.
Yeah. Morning Cigar, thank you so much. He says this was an extra encouraging discussion. Thank you so much for your contribution to it. James from Bahia says, porn allows men to behave well around women instead of trying to hit on them. I think it's quite the opposite.
I don't think so. I think it makes them feel more objectifying towards us. I don't buy that at all. I really do not.
PGRO
Well, and sometimes I
yeah.
wonder too, when there's all these guys saying, like if you look at the incel crowd, some of the things that they're posting are so hateful. You've got guys that have, that are, super average in looks that only want to date women who are supermodels and want those women to approach them, and then are hateful towards all women because that's not happening. So, if you're an average looking person, try asking out other average looking people.
Well, that's the point of
I think there's a
home
lid
math.
for every pot. I really do.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And that's what Homath says that girls do to his whole formula is that the sixes, the five, sixes, and sevens all go after the nine and tens. The five, six, and seven women go after the nine and ten men's, and they dabble with the mids, which means the nines and the tens and the females can't get the nines and the ten males to commit because the mid band of girls aren't content with the mid band of boys. But I think you're probably onto something, Jennifer, that it might in fact work both ways. I don't know. I'm out of the game.
Well, I mean, when you find a lot of dead bedrooms because because the husbands have basically left their marriage for the pornography that they're watching, and the wife is demoralized and humiliated by this. You've kind of got that opposite thing happening where functionally I'm with the mid, but my eyes are always cast up at the nines and the tens. And so you've got,
Yep.
so I do think it goes both ways. I think that there's something
Yep.
really important. Stephen Wright, ladies have an obvious bias against porn because it strips them of power over men. There are some women like Ayla fine with making it and helping lonely guys. And there's another question about whether cartoon porn is not a problem. So interesting, you guys. I love these questions. I think this is really interesting. Spinster Mountain, yes, and the burqa keeps men from raping women too. Gosh,
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
is
and a man who's a 4 can have a woman who's a 9 if he's got money. You see that in Southern California all the time, every day, all day long, 100%.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Studio.
But women
Yes.
look for
That is
different
the
things.
case here.
Women look for different things from their partners, though, than men look from their partners. We're not exactly the same, and I think that's actually okay.
I think so too. I think this is a fantastic discussion, and it's always hard to have these discussions without stepping on feelings or making people feel
Judged.
yeah, like taking it personally. I am glad, I'm really grateful for the people who are commenting and adding their thoughts, and I'm really grateful for all of you trying to just open up to the dialogue. It's a hard dialogue to have, and I think it's really great. So thank you all so much. David Moore says chat is a disaster without Ninja Kitty. I actually enjoy the chats quite a bit. I like Ninja Kitty too. But I just decided I didn't think the chat needed an official moderator because I kept on getting emails from people saying that they'd been banned from the chat, and I don't want people banned. I want people to be able to say what they want, even if it's not pleasant. I want you guys to be able to say what you want. We don't have to read it, but I often read the unpleasant ones anyway. So we got 1 thumbs down today. Go ahead and hit the like button if you guys enjoyed the conversation, and we will be back next week. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.